You know, most folks who worry about their kidneys are already being careful about what they drink. They've cut back on alcohol. Maybe they're watching their coffee intake. Some have completely stopped drinking energy drinks. They're paying attention, making smart choices. And yet, there's one drink that millions of people over 65 are having every single day, not because they're being careless, but because they think they're making the healthy choice, the smart choice, the choice their doctor would approve of. It's not alcohol. It's not coffee, and it's definitely not an energy drink. It's something that was actually designed and marketed as the better option. The packaging tells you it's safe. You might have even switched to it because your doctor told you to watch your sugar intake. Here's what stopped me in my tracks. A careful study that followed more than 3,000 adults for 20 years found that people who drank this beverage regularly were losing kidney function 3 times faster than those who didn't. 3 times faster. Not just a little worse, 3 times faster. And they genuinely believed they were doing the right thing for their health. I'm going to tell you exactly what this drink is, explain in simple terms why it affects kidneys so dramatically after 65, and give you a straightforward plan you can start using today. Please stay with me through this entire conversation. What I'm about to share with you might change how you think about something you've been doing for years. I'm Dr. Richard Ben, and I've spent my career studying how our bodies change after 60, and what those changes mean for every health decision we make. Let me start by sharing something about your kidneys that I wish every older adult knew. Your kidneys are probably the most overlooked vital organ when it comes to senior health. Everyone talks about heart health, brain health, lung health, but your kidneys? They've been quietly changing since you were in your 30s, and most people have never been told about it. Here's a number I want you to remember. Starting around age 30, you lose about 6,000 to 6,500 tiny filtering units called nephrons every single year. Think of nephrons as the individual workers in your kidney's filtration system. By the time you reach 70, even a healthy kidney has lost about half the filtering power it had when you were 25. Half. Let me give you a picture that might help. Imagine your kidneys as a coffee filter. Not just one filter, but one made up of millions of tiny holes. Every decade, some of those holes close permanently. They don't reopen. The filter keeps working, but it has less room for error. Less ability to handle things that would have been no problem at all when you were 40. Here's what makes this so important after 65. This decline actually speeds up. The research shows this consistently. Your kidneys, which were already working with less capacity, start working even harder. Chronic kidney disease affects somewhere between 20 and 44% of adults over 65. That's 1 in 5 to nearly 1 in 2 people. And here's the scary part. Most of them have absolutely no idea. Because your kidneys don't hurt when they're in trouble. They don't send you clear warning signals. Kidney disease has been called the forgotten pandemic, not because it's rare, but because it hides so well. It hides behind tiredness that you blame on getting older. It hides behind ankle swelling that you think is from standing too long. It disguises itself as symptoms so easy to dismiss that people can go years without connecting them to the one organ that's quietly doing the essential work of keeping their blood clean. This is exactly why what you drink becomes so much more important after 65 than it ever was before. When your margin for error gets smaller, what you put into your system every single day starts to matter more than you might realize. I'd like you to do something right now. Drop a comment and tell me 2 things. How old are you? And have you been feeling unexplainably tired lately? The kind that a good night's sleep just doesn't seem to fix. I read every single comment on this channel, and your answer matters here. The drink is diet soda. Those artificially sweetened beverages. The 0-calorie, 0-sugar options. That can in your refrigerator that says diet. The drink you may have been having for years, maybe even decades, because someone you trusted told you the regular version was worse for you. Before I go any further, I want to say something important, and I want you to really hear this. If you've been drinking diet soda because you have diabetes, or because your doctor told you to cut sugar, or because you were trying to watch your weight and make the responsible choice, you weren't wrong to try to take care of yourself. You were working with the information you had. What you weren't given was the complete picture. Here's what a major study published in JAMA Network Open discovered when researchers looked at 127,830 adults. That's over 127,000 people. having more than one artificially sweetened beverage per day was linked to a 26% higher risk of developing chronic kidney disease. 26% higher. But here's the finding that really got my attention. The one I believe every adult over 65 who drinks diet soda needs to know. Switching from regular soda to diet soda didn't lower that risk. Swapping the regular can for the diet can didn't protect the kidneys. The diet version carried its own separate measurable risk. And there's more. The famous Nurses' Health Study at Harvard followed more than 3,000 women for 20 years. Here's what they found. Women who didn't drink diet soda lost about 1 unit of kidney filtering function per year after age 40. That's normal aging. Women who had 2 or more diet sodas per day lost 3 units per year, 3 times faster. Even after the researchers accounted for diabetes, high blood pressure, weight, exercise habits, and age, the connection between diet soda and faster kidney decline was still there in the data. This isn't some small study that we can brush off. This is years of solid, peer-reviewed research. And almost nobody is talking about it when it comes to kidneys that are already working with reduced capacity after 65. Now let me explain why this happens, because understanding the why is what turns this from a scary statistic into something you can actually do something about. There are 3 ways this damage occurs, and the third one is the most sneaky and possibly the most harmful of all. When most people think about diet soda, they figure it's basically flavored sparkling water. No sugar, no calories, just carbonation and some sweetener. What could be the problem? The answer is something called phosphoric acid. Phosphoric acid is what gives dark colas, Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, Diet Root Beer, that distinctive sharp, slightly biting taste. It's what makes them taste the way they do. And it's in the diet versions, just as much as the regular ones. Here's what happens when you drink it. Your body absorbs over 90% of that phosphoric acid. Nearly all of it gets into your bloodstream. And once it's there, guess which organ has to deal with it? Your kidneys. Think of phosphorus as something your kidneys have to keep in perfect balance, like a careful bookkeeper managing the accounts. A small, controlled amount of phosphorus is normal and necessary for bone strength and cell function. But when you flood the system every day with this artificial phosphorus from the acid, that careful bookkeeper falls behind. The balance can't be maintained. The books get messy. Over time, this extra phosphorus load puts stress on the tiny working parts of your kidney, the little pipes inside that do the actual work of separating what your body needs from what it needs to get rid of. This leads to elevated parathyroid hormone, which weakens your bones. It also increases calcium loss in your urine, which can lead to kidney stones. Now let me be specific here, because I believe in being accurate. Dark colas contain phosphoric acid. Light-colored sodas, like lemon-lime drinks or ginger ale, usually use citric acid instead, and don't carry this same specific risk to the same degree. This matters. Not all diet sodas are identical in this regard, but dark diet colas, which are what most people drink, do contain phosphoric acid. And remember, after 65, your body becomes less efficient at handling phosphorus. The same daily can of dark diet cola has a bigger impact on a 70-year-old kidney than on a 40-year-old kidney. But phosphoric acid is just the first layer. The second layer involves what those artificial sweeteners actually do once they're inside your body. And this is where things get more complicated than any label will tell you. The idea behind artificial sweeteners seemed to make sense when they were introduced. No calories, not sugar. The body doesn't break them down like it breaks down sugar. They just pass through. That was the reassurance. But here's what passing through without being broken down actually means for your kidneys. It means they get eliminated, unchanged, directly through your urine, which means your kidneys are the final destination for these compounds every single time you have them. Saccharin and acesulfame K, 2 of the most common artificial sweeteners in diet sodas, arrive at your kidneys' tiny tubes in their original form. Your kidneys have to handle them every day, multiple times a day if you're drinking more than 1 can. And there's a second pathway that emerging research is making clearer and clearer. Artificial sweeteners disrupt your gut bacteria, that community of hundreds of billions of helpful bacteria living in your intestinal tract. These bacteria aren't just for digestion. They're central to controlling inflammation throughout your entire body. They manage immune responses and metabolic reactions everywhere. Think of your gut bacteria as a security team at your body's front door. When the team is balanced and working well, it keeps inflammatory signals under control. When artificial sweeteners disrupt this team, and research consistently shows they do, the result is increased inflammation throughout your body. And chronic inflammation is one of the main drivers of kidney tissue damage. Not the dramatic fever and pain kind of inflammation. The quiet, persistent, low-level kind that does its work slowly and invisibly, speeding up the decline of an organ that was already losing capacity every year. There's one more piece to this sweetener story that helps explain the bigger picture. Artificial sweeteners trigger the same sweet signal in your brain as real sugar. Your brain sends a message: sweetness detected, get ready for glucose. Insulin starts to rise. Then the glucose never comes. This misfiring, day after day, year after year, is linked to insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome, both of which are independent risk factors for kidney disease. Your brain gets fooled. Your kidneys pay the price. Now, the third layer. This is the one I want you to think about most carefully because it's the one no label will ever warn you about. It happens not because of what diet soda contains, but because of what it replaces. When you drink a diet soda, you feel like you've had something to drink. Your thirst quiets down. The carbonation is satisfying. Your brain registers hydration received. You go on with your day. But for your kidneys, what just happened is very different from what water would have provided. Your kidneys need consistent, adequate water flow to work properly. Not a flood, not an unusual amount. Just enough clean water moving through the system to flush out waste, maintain proper concentration, and protect the delicate working parts from damage that happens when urine gets too concentrated. When diet soda replaces water, not supplements it, but replaces it, chronic mild dehydration becomes your normal state, not the severe kind where you feel thirsty and dizzy. Just consistently, quietly, not quite enough, day after day, week after week. Year after year, for someone who has 3 diet sodas a day and barely any plain water. Think of your kidneys as a water treatment plant. The plant processes waste through a series of channels. Those channels need a minimum flow of clean water to function, not a flood, just enough. When you send carbonated, acidic, artificially sweetened liquid through those channels instead of water, the flow isn't what the system was designed to handle. The channels slow down. Waste gets more concentrated. Over years, the walls of the channel start to be affected by what's being sent through them. Here's what makes this especially dangerous after 65. After 65, your thirst mechanism itself becomes less sensitive. This is a documented change that comes with aging. Older adults consistently underestimate how dehydrated they are. Research confirms this repeatedly. You don't feel thirsty when you're already mildly dehydrated. The alarm that should be going off is quieter than it was at 40. If diet soda is taking the place of water for a 70-year-old whose thirst alarm is already running at lower volume, chronic kidney stress from underhydration becomes practically invisible. You feel fine. You think you're drinking enough. Your kidneys are struggling in silence. Here's what the Nurses' Health Study found that really matters. Even when researchers accounted for total fluid intake, the kidney decline in diet soda drinkers was still there. This tells us something important. The harm isn't simply explained by they drank less water overall. The beverages themselves, independent of hydration, were causing damage. 3 layers, working at the same time, on kidneys that are already running with reduced capacity, phosphoric acid stressing the mineral balance, artificial sweeteners reaching the kidneys directly and triggering inflammation, and the deception effect, quietly displacing the one thing kidneys actually need most, doing its damage without a single symptom to announce it. Together, over months and years, this is what creates that number. 3 times faster decline, not from carelessness, from a deliberate, well-intentioned daily habit. Now I want to turn to what I think is the most important part of this conversation. Not the mechanism, but the signs. Because kidneys don't announce their distress with pain, but they do communicate. In a language that's easy to misread if no one has ever explained it to you. Chronic kidney disease gets called a silent disease for good reason. It doesn't cause pain in the early stages. Your kidneys don't have the kind of nerve endings that your stomach or heart has. There's no equivalent of chest pain or cramping to clearly signal that something's wrong. But your body does communicate. It sends signals. They're quiet signals, and almost every one of them gets blamed on something else. Let me walk you through the 6 most common early signs of declining kidney function. For each one, I'll tell you what most people assume it means, and what it might actually be telling you. You sleep 7-8 hours. You wake up and the exhaustion is still there. You go through your morning feeling like the rest never quite reached you. You blame it on age, stress, poor sleep quality. Here's what might actually be happening. Your kidneys produce a hormone called erythropoietin, EPO, which tells your bone marrow to make red blood cells. When kidney function declines, EPO production drops. Fewer red blood cells means less oxygen getting carried to every muscle and organ in your body. The tiredness that results isn't fatigue from a busy day. It's a baseline exhaustion, a heaviness that greets you before the day has even started. Coffee doesn't touch it. Rest doesn't fully resolve it. It just persists. If this description sounds like your mornings, please keep it in mind as we continue. Your shoes feel tighter by 4 o'clock. Your ankles look fuller than they did in the morning. You blame it on the heat, or standing too long, or that flight you took last week. Your kidneys control sodium and fluid balance in your body. When function declines, excess sodium and fluid build up, and gravity pulls them down. The pattern that points toward kidney involvement specifically is swelling in both feet and both ankles, that's worse in the afternoon, and better in the morning after you've been lying flat. That particular pattern. If that sounds familiar, it's worth describing it exactly as I just did when you talk with your doctor. The third sign is foamy or bubbly urine. Not occasionally, consistently bubbly. Foam that doesn't disappear within about 30 seconds after you've finished urinating. Healthy kidneys keep protein in your bloodstream. When the filter gets damaged, protein starts leaking into your urine. The presence of protein in urine creates foam, the same way protein creates foam when you whip egg whites. This is called proteinuria, and it's listed in medical textbooks as one of the earliest detectable signs of kidney damage. Most people who notice this think they just went quickly, or blame the toilet water and dismiss it. Here's a test I want you to do. Watch for it consistently over a week. Persistent foam that lingers isn't normal. It's a signal. The fourth sign is waking more often at night to urinate. You've always assumed this is prostate issues or bladder problems or just getting older. Sometimes it is. But there's a kidney-specific pattern worth knowing. Healthy kidneys concentrate urine efficiently during the night, reducing the need to wake. When this concentrating ability declines, which is one of the earliest changes in kidney disease, your kidneys produce more dilute urine and signal your bladder more frequently. The distinguishing detail: kidney-related nighttime urination typically involves larger volumes each time, rather than the small, urgent amounts you'd see with prostate or bladder issues. If you're waking 2, 3, 4 times a night and producing meaningful volume each time, that's a different pattern worth discussing specifically. The fifth sign is persistent itchy skin with no visible rash. You scratch the same areas: your legs, arms, back. There's nothing to see on the surface. No rash, no redness, no obvious irritation. You change your soap, your laundry detergent. The itching continues. As kidney function declines, waste products that should be filtered from your blood start to build up. One of the earlier signs of this buildup is persistent itching, often worse at night with no skin change you can see. If you've been treating this as a skin problem and getting no lasting relief, it may not be a skin problem at all. The sixth sign is a metallic taste in your mouth or a gradual decrease in appetite. Foods you used to enjoy taste wrong. Your appetite is smaller than it used to be. You notice a faint metallic or unusual taste that you can't explain. You've checked your medications, mentioned it to your dentist. This is a later stage signal than the previous 5. It reflects the buildup of urea in your bloodstream, a condition called uremia, which affects taste and suppresses appetite. I include it here not to alarm you, but because I've had too many patients tell me they blamed it on their medication for a year before anyone thought to check their kidneys. None of these signs alone is a diagnosis. I want to be clear about that. What matters is patterns, persistence, more than one of these appearing together over weeks and months, consistently. If you've been living with 2 or 3 of these and explaining each one away as a separate, unrelated part of aging, that explanation might be costing you the one thing that matters most in kidney disease: time. Because here's what the research shows clearly. early-stage kidney disease, stages 1, 2, and 3, is manageable. Progression can be slowed. In some early cases, it can even be partially stabilized. But this window of opportunity is only available if you act before stage 4 or 5. And most people don't discover their stage until they have an annual blood test that someone actually looks at carefully. Let me tell you about a patient who changed how I think about all this. Her name is Sandra. She's 68 years old, a retired office manager from Columbus, Ohio. Organized, practical, the kind of person who keeps a calendar and shows up early to every appointment. She didn't come to see me because she was worried about her kidneys. She came because she was exhausted. "Doctor," she told me at that first appointment, "I sleep 8 hours and I wake up already tired. I've been sleeping 8 hours every night for 2 years. And I can't remember the last morning I woke up feeling rested." She mentioned, almost as an afterthought while we were talking, that her ankles had been swelling in the afternoons. "I figured it was from sitting at my desk too long," she said. "I've been retired for 3 years, so I figured it was just aging." Her previous doctor had noted the tiredness and thought it might be mild iron deficiency anemia. She'd been given iron supplements. The tiredness continued. The ankle swelling was in her chart and had been attributed to mild circulation problems in her leg veins. That explanation made sense. It wasn't wrong, exactly. But it had stopped the questioning before the right question was asked. I asked Sandra one question that nobody had asked her before. I asked it simply, "What do you drink during a typical day?" She answered the way someone does when they're proud of a habit they work to build. 8 years earlier, she'd been told by her doctor to watch her blood sugar, pre-diabetes. Her doctor had recommended cutting back on sugar, including regular soda. Sandra had done exactly that. She'd given up regular cola and switched to diet. 3, sometimes 4 cans a day. "I thought I was doing the right thing," she said. The doctor said, "Cut the sugar." I cut the sugar. 8 years. Every single day. Her eGFR, her kidney filtering rate, came back at 54. Stage 3, a chronic kidney disease. She had lost about 40% of her kidney's normal filtering capacity. She had no idea. There had been no pain, no dramatic symptom. Just tiredness she'd accepted as inevitable, and swelling she'd written off as aging. "I feel like someone pulled the floor out from under me," she told me at that second appointment. "I thought I was being careful." I asked Sandra to do one thing first. Before any other changes, before any medication discussion, I asked her to completely eliminate the diet soda and replace it with water. Plain water. And on days when she wanted something with carbonation, plain, sparkling water with a slice of lemon. Nothing more than that as a first step. We adjusted her diet. We monitored her numbers every 3 months. 6 months later, Sandra's eGFR had moved to 56, 2 points in the right direction. In kidney disease, that's not a small movement. Stopping the decline, even stabilizing, is the goal. She hadn't only stopped the decline, she'd moved the needle upward. She called my office the day the results came in. "Doctor," she said, "it went the right way. You told me it could." There was a pause. And then she said something I haven't forgotten. 8 years, she said. I was doing that for 8 years thinking it was helping me. Sandra wasn't careless. Sandra wasn't reckless. Sandra was a thoughtful, careful woman who made the best decision she could with the information she was given. What she hadn't been given was the complete picture. That's exactly why this channel exists. If this conversation is giving you something you didn't have before, a piece of the picture you were missing, please give it a like and subscribe. Every week, I bring you the clinical information that your doctor genuinely believes in, but simply doesn't have 17 minutes in an appointment to explain. And tell me in the comments, have you been drinking diet soda regularly? For how long? I want to hear your story. I want to be clear about something before I give you these steps. If you've been drinking diet soda for years, I'm not telling you that you have kidney disease. I'm telling you that you may have been speeding up a decline that's already happening naturally with age, and that there are clear, evidence-based steps you can take starting today to slow it down. And if Sandra's story felt familiar, if 2 or 3 of those warning signs recognize themselves in you, then what I'm about to give you isn't optional. It's urgent. Step 1 is the most important and the most immediate. Stop the diet soda and replace it with water. Not flavored water with additives. Not sparkling water with sweeteners. Plain water. The goal is a minimum of 6 to 8 glasses of water each day. And in warmer weather. Or if you're active, more than that. If you've been drinking 3 cans of diet soda a day for years, I understand this is a real change. It's not nothing. So let me offer this. You don't have to stop everything all at once, but each diet soda you replace with a glass of water today is a direct, immediate improvement in what your kidneys receive. Not a theoretical benefit, an actual immediate reduction in the acid load, the sweetener exposure, and the dehydration effect we just talked about together. If the carbonation is something you really need to make this transition, plain sparkling water, no phosphoric acid, no artificial sweeteners, just water and carbon dioxide, is an acceptable substitute. Read the label carefully. The only ingredients should be carbonated water, nothing else. Think back to that water treatment plant. You're simply restoring the clean flow those channels need, 1 glass at a time. Step 2. Ask your doctor for 2 specific tests. Write these down. I want you to have the exact words. The first test is serum creatinine with estimated GFR, eGFR. This is a standard blood test. It's usually included in routine blood work. It measures your kidney's current filtering rate and gives you a stage. If you've had comprehensive blood work in the past year, your creatinine was likely already measured. But the eGFR calculation may not have been discussed if the number seemed acceptable for your age. Ask to see the number specifically. Ask what it means for you. The second test is the urine albumin to creatinine ratio, the ACR. This is a urine test. It detects protein leaking into your urine before you can see it with the naked eye. It's the early warning test. Many doctors don't routinely order it unless a patient brings it up. Write these down right now. eGFR and urine ACR. Bring this video if it helps. Tell your doctor, I've been reading about kidney function and I'd like to know my numbers. I'd like an eGFR and a urine ACR. That's not an unusual request. That's not excessive. That's you advocating for your own health with the right language to do it clearly. Step 3. Reduce the other things that add to the damage. The most important one to know about is NSAIDs, ibuprofen, naproxen, the common over-the-counter pain relievers that millions of older adults take regularly for joint pain and arthritis. NSAIDs are among the most kidney-damaging substances you can get without a prescription. They reduce blood flow to your kidneys and put direct stress on the working cells. If you're taking them frequently, more than 2 or 3 times per week, please discuss this with your doctor. There are alternatives, there are strategies, but I take ibuprofen every day for my knees is a conversation worth having with your doctor in the context of your kidney health. Salt is the second thing worth looking at. Excess sodium forces your kidneys to work harder to maintain fluid balance. Every extra gram of sodium processed is extra work for a system that's already working with less capacity. You don't need to eliminate salt entirely, but moving away from processed and packaged foods, which are the main source of sodium in most people's diets, makes a real difference. Step 4. Add the things that support your kidneys. I want to keep this simple because the main message here is about removing the harm, not adding a complex supplement routine. But I'd be incomplete if I didn't mention what the research supports. Leafy green vegetables, spinach, kale, arugula, provide anti-inflammatory support and important vitamins without the high phosphorus or potassium that becomes problematic in advanced kidney disease. Berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries provide compounds that reduce the stress placed on kidney tissue. Omega-3 rich fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, reduce inflammatory markers throughout your body. Olive oil as your main cooking fat instead of processed vegetable oils reduces inflammation in multiple organ systems at once. The principle is simple. Less chemical load going in, more anti-inflammatory support. Your kidneys don't need more to process, they need less and better. 4 steps, 1 drink removed, 2 tests requested, 2 categories adjusted. This isn't a complicated program. It's a reset. It's giving a system that's been working for you every single minute of the last 65, 70, or 80 years, the conditions it actually needs to keep doing its job. Everything I've shared with you today is educational. It's based on published, peer-reviewed research and represents my honest clinical perspective after decades of working with older adults. It's not a diagnosis of your specific situation. It's not a prescription. If any of the warning signs I described sounded familiar, please don't use this video as a substitute for seeing your own doctor. Use it as the reason to go. Bring your questions. Bring the names of those tests. Bring your commitment to knowing your numbers. Your doctor is your partner in this, and you're now better equipped to have that conversation than you were before you watched this video. You may be watching this because something has been quietly bothering you for a while. Maybe you recognized one of those warning signs, or two of them, and something clicked while I was describing them. Maybe a family member was recently diagnosed with kidney disease and you found yourself wondering, could this be me? Maybe you've simply been drinking diet soda for years because someone you trusted told you it was the better choice, and right now you're sitting with the uncomfortable weight of realizing that nobody gave you the complete picture. I want to say this to you directly. None of that is your fault. The appointments are short. The labels don't mention phosphoric acid and kidney function. Nobody sat with you and explained what happens to a 68-year-old kidney when it processes artificial sweeteners and acid every single day for years. The system didn't give you this information. That's not a small thing. And I don't want you to leave this conversation carrying any kind of self-blame for a decision you made in good faith. Now you know. And knowing changes what's possible from this moment forward. You watched this entire video. You didn't click away when the science got detailed. You didn't skip past Sandra's story. You stayed. That's not passive behavior. That's what it looks like when a person refuses to let their health be managed by incomplete information, by assumptions that were made decades ago and never updated, by a system that's genuinely doing its best, but doesn't have enough time to tell you everything you deserve to know. That's the person this channel exists for. Tell me in the comments, are you going to remove the diet soda? Or have you already made changes to your kidney health through better hydration, through diet, through getting your numbers checked, and you've noticed a difference? Both paths are worth telling. Both stories matter here. I read every comment on this channel, and I mean that completely. If this video gave you something you didn't have before, please subscribe. Every week, I bring you the complete clinical picture. The information your doctor believes in, the evidence your doctor would share with you if the appointment were an hour long instead of 17 minutes. No products to sell you, no supplements to push, just the science, explained for you. And if you know someone who's been drinking diet soda for years because they have diabetes, or because they were told to watch their sugar, or because they were trying to do the responsible thing, please send them this video, not to frighten them, to give them what this video gave you, the complete picture they deserve to have.